now.
Sound, right.
So what we're going to show you is phones going from about the earliest to the latest.
No, not quite.
If you'd have seen somebody in years gone by, pardon me, you'd have seen somebody in years gone by standing, going, yap, 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 talking to a piece of thing like that, you'd think he's ready for the funny farm, wouldn't you? But it wasn't. That's the actual transmitter of one of the extremely early phones.
Ah,
Actually, the bit of timber vibrates up and down, and the carbon rods underneath vibrate up and down, and that's the way it works. But look, the earliest practical telephone that was used in this part of the world is this one here in the middle. It's called a phonophore. It was deliberately used to operate over the same wire as a telegraph line, single wire telegraph line. I'll talk about that a bit further on. But this one had used a buzzer type signalling. That little horn thing on the top of it was the thing that did the signalling. None of this cranking handles. This is what it sounded like. And exactly that same sort of system, incidentally, was used in things like Freddy phones, army phones during the war, when they just had a little buzzer to signal them. So that's the original one, or the commonest original one. It was used over the top of the telegraph line, so you could have the Morse going on underneath on the same wire, single wire. This is another very early type phone down here, but now instead of having the bit of wood there, it's actually got a little mouthpiece that you spoke into. The commonest ones in this part of the world, really, were these Ericsson telephones. Stand up to talk into the mouthpiece up there with the receiver at the side. They're a fascinating piece of equipment, actually, the way they're designed, very artistic, all sorts of decorations on them, and a little sloping writing shelf with a little spring-loaded clip to hold your piece of paper so it didn't blow away. A hook on the front to hang the receiver on while you went and talked to somebody, or have a second receiver on. That was replaced by this type here, which is basically the same, except now it's got the original type handset. But you've got a second receiver there, so two people can listen in, or you can stop out the noise of the kids fighting in the background. Sort of thing.
We need that now.
Well, these early telephones were magneto telephones, where you crank the handle on the side. And the reason why they're so big is you have to have room for two batteries underneath there, and this is the size batteries. This is the size batteries. Yes. Two of those. In the country, you've seen all those in telephones. Well, then we shift on to what we call a central battery, or a common battery phone, where instead of having the batteries in the actual telephone itself, you have a very big battery in the exchange, and you feed the power down the line. And that's the typical common battery one, central battery phone. The main exchange in central Brisbane became a central battery exchange in 1912, and then became an automatic exchange in 1929. And there are just different variations of this. Is another one that's an American style. This again is an Ericsson style. And then if you've been in the country, you almost certainly are familiar with these ones down the bottom here, that nice big box. They are a British Ericsson phone. They're none of the elaborate decorations of the Swedish Ericsson one, but it had to be that big again to keep these two things. Well, then they got into the very decorative ones. These ones up here, commonly referred to as Eiffel Tower ones because of the shape of them, not the one in the middle. These ones here, the sort of things that the house and garden of the better homes and gardens and those sort of things, and everybody who had a house that was going to appear in one of these things would have to have those sort of beasties. These pedestal ones were very common ones around the place. That one's a central battery one, and there's the automatic one. The only difference between a central battery phone and an automatic phone is you put a dial on the automatic phone and take away the operator in the exchange. These are just other different variations of different type phones, a CB one, a wall automatic one, a later version of an automatic wall phone. And then of course we get on to the later ones, where we start going into plastic style things. These ones up the top. That phone at the top and the one alongside it are actually exactly the same phone, but they have taken the bottom section off, which is where the bell set is, And so that can be put in a separate place. You'd use this on an office desk and the bell set would be underneath the table so you didn't have so much space taken up on it. Now those are the first Bakelite type ones, and then of course we moved on to later variations of the same things, and we start coming into these ones here where now, if they're a magnetophone, you've got the generator built into the phone. And then of course we start going to colours. Up to this stage it was the Henry Ford approach. You can have any colour you like as long as it's black.
And it's Bakelite.
And the red one, of course, was generally used for fire alarms and things like that, but that was the white ones, and this sort of beigey colour were the first ones. And you notice they've got a little spot in the bottom there where you can pull it out, so you've got your little list of your numbers and things like that, just down the bottom. The bottom ones down there are just different variations. They're different manufacture. And you get onto, this is the first portable telephone. It's portable because it's got a hand. You might remember these, and it's on a plug-in. On a plug-in socket. You'd have a plug in the various rooms. You'd have a bell set at one central location. You'd have a plug in the various rooms. You'd pick her up and walk around. You'd shove her in the bedroom or put it anywhere else you like. And there's the little spot where the annotation came out of it. Now, different variations. Then we went to the common wall phones in this part of the world. This is a different wall phone, which is, I think, American, in that particular one. Different variations on it. This is just a small intercom unit.
What years are you talking about here, I think? 40s?
The years, these?
Yeah.
These would have been about the 50s.
50s, yeah.
Late 50s. There's the first hearing aid telephone for deaf people. It's got a little light in it. It's got a valve amplifier in it. It's always fascinated me with these deaf aid telephones, why you would have a flashing little light on it. Because if they're deaf, how would they know to look to see if the light was flashing? But I've never quite worked that one out. There's a similar one there that's got a red light in it, which could be used in that same sort of situation, or used in a place like a broadcasting studio, where you want to talk to the announcer and he's got the microphone open, so the light just flashes, and then when he finishes he gets off. These are the ones down here, intercom units of various types. This one here is where you have a single phone, say in a shop, and then one in the residence.
Extensions.
At the back, a single extension. And that's a different variation of the same type of thing. And this one is the one for the small office, where you have 2 exchange lines and up to 10 extensions. Anybody could answer any one, and you could allow some people to have external access or not. Then we went into colour phones in a genuine way.
Yeah.
There was the range of colours.
I'll go around the other way now.
As you come down, that's the ordinary automatic phone on the top there, the 6 colours run right across. The next one has got a push button on the end of it here, and these were used in the big offices so you could recall the operator. You push the button to flash the light on the operators. This one is the key control to stop anybody walking in and running up
You need them now, when you have teenagers in the house.
Keep the kids off, that's right, keep the kids off.
Why didn't they keep those going?
That's why they invent SIM cards and things like that for mobiles. There's the straight CB one, and this is the first of the push button phone. And you notice something funny about those. They're different to the push button phones you've got now. There's no star and there's no hash. Because you've seen that bit of exchange equipment in there, the automatic exchange equipment. Now, it could only count pulses. It could only count to 10. Couldn't count to 12. If it could count to 12, they could have had a star and a hash. Now, it wasn't until we started to get computerised control in the exchanges, and instead of just making pulses and going da 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 da, you use combination of tones, what we call multi-frequency signalling. And this enables you to do all sorts of combinations, and that smart little computer in the exchange can do all sorts of funny things for you. So then when you get onto this range of wall telephones, later colour variations, lo and behold, we've now got the star and the hash.
You are thinking?
Just watching the camera.
Oh, yeah, where is he?
I can sure he can get in,
So that's that range of things. You've seen magneto telephones. These are the bits that did all the generation, and that one down the end there is the very earliest one, ranging up to the latest models up here. There's the voltage there. ringing the bell. And this is what we use to demonstrate that it does flash things. So they're all just different variations. That earliest one there has two coils running round the face of the magnet. The rest of these are just like the alternator or generator in your car. It's on the inside.
These make good little megas.
No, you don't get enough voltage. You can only get about 90 volts out of them if you crank them real hard.
Oh, yeah.
If you want a real mega, you want 400 volts. And while we're here, that machine just here at the front, that's the original telephone answering machine. It recorded an outgoing message on a magnetic tape on the back of it. There it goes. That's just got a little message on it, just talking about it. No, I won't talk to you. That's just the outgoing message.
Just tell me.
It's like the old 5-inch floppy disks. It's on the back. That's an Ericsson machine too.
Right.
It runs through the message twice.
Yep.
And if you wanted to leave a message, this will show you the date. You could plug a recorder into it. But it's not called a recorder, it's called a dictaphone. You can plug a dictaphone into it.
There's good jokes about that, isn't there?
That'll show you the dates. There it is, just started to go through again. There's the quality of it. It's not real good quality, but it's understandable.
Machines.
So it's a magnetic disc, not a
There's a
tape.
magnetic disc underneath. No, there's another one there. And the magnetic disc is underneath there.
Yeah.
But it's just about the same as that 5-inch floppy disks that you used to have in computers before they invented the little floppies. All right, well, let's move down
There's a way.
this away.
Yeah.
You want to do a full finish now, do you?
No, okay.
Well, all right. Well, that's a nice little run round of the early type telephones and various other things. Now, this one is what we call a PABX, Private Automatic Branch Exchange. This is the sort of thing that was used in medium-sized offices. You could have up to 8 exchange lines and 50 extensions on this one, and you could put 2 of them side by side so that you could go up to 16 exchange lines and 100 extensions. So, yeah, there it goes. Hello. We've got one crook switch in there, I hate to tell you. We'll get the maintenance staff on it. There it is. And this type of thing would work with this as well. Push button signalling, and it converts it all. And that's multi-frequency signalling. Oh, I dialed the wrong number. That switch is definitely crook. So that's the private automatic branch exchange. You've seen the equipment in there.
So who owned that thing when it was put in say an office somewhere?
The PMG.
You guys still owned it?
They did, yeah.
Yeah.
But that changed in later years once we got to Telecom and then to Telstra, when private companies would supply them and you would buy them.
Yeah.
But in general, in PMG days, they were still owned by the Postmaster General's Department.
Oh.
It's only after we became Telecom and Telstra and commercialised and privatised and outsourced and all the other various funny things that are still going on everywhere. Yeah. Now, on the other interesting little group, as you've possibly all seen these things, these horrible things were a later version of the decorator's delights. These were, again, an Ericsson phone. They were called an Ericaphone. They weren't clear like that. They were the different colours, and the switch was underneath there.
Okay.
And you picked them up and you dialed underneath. And the problem with these was you'd be talking to somebody, oh, hang on a minute, I'll go and find something for you. You put it down and disconnect. So they became unpopular, and they have now come back into popularity.
Decorator's delight.
All right, well look, then we got into the range of all the funny phones, you know, with memories, flip phones, all sorts of things, single push button dialing. There's a bewildering variety of those sort of things. You can see them all.
Yeah, you can see the plates.
Another little device that was a magnetic recorder that you won't have seen because these were only in the exchanges. This is the change number or special messages machine. You could get 12 messages on it. That message that's on there is an actual one that was on the machine.
This is a Telecom Australia announcement. The new number for the tradesman hotline
is Brisbane 279-1522. I repeat, Brisbane 279-1522.
Magnetically recorded on that strip of magnetic material there, and you can get 12 different messages on it. There's the record and replay heads and the erase heads for 4 channels. There's another 4 there and another 4 tucked away around the back. So you can put all sorts of messages on, and that was a typical message. The public telephones, payphones they call them these days, a range of very early ones where you put a coin up there and you rolled it down, and you notice the sign up there, public telephone, 1 penny. Now that'll show you how long ago that was. And you'd wait till the number answered, and you'd roll it down there, and it filled up. And if you were in Brisbane round about exhibition time, you might remember there used to be a bank of these outside the Commonwealth Bank in near King George Square, and they had very long coin tins like that. And during exhibition week, they used to be cleared 2 or 3 times a day. People did making so many phone calls. Phones for trunk calls, the A and B push button ones. You booked the call when it was connected, and you pay for it. You pushed button A, and it shoved it down in the coin tin. If you're going to get it back, you pushed button B, and back it came. And this particular one went underwater in the 74 flood. We haven't bothered cleaning it up. That's exactly the way it came out. But you can see when you push that, the coins are sitting there and they drop down. And when you push this, they come back this other way and out the chute. And that little buzz you hear is to enable the operator to know that somebody has pushed the refund. All right, later versions, type of things you can do, international subscriber dialing. And this will show you just how complicated a phone has become. There's the units of one that enables you to put coins in or a card and do international subscriber dialing. And we can't get that one working because you've got to have a lot of special gear in the exchange to work with it too. So, but we just use that to show people how complicated this is. And the last thing I'll show you is, pardon me if I just get round here, the last thing I'll show you is the first mobile phone! Now I kid you not.
Yep.
It was called a car phone, and you run it off the car battery, but it's got a battery in it, so you could cart it around. We show the young kids, so I reckon they ought to be this size and they wouldn't walk around using them too much. All right, well, I think that's pretty fair coverage. I hope you enjoyed it, and feel free to have a look around and various other bits and pieces.
Up there, like something similar to what I had.
These are the mobile phones coming all the way down till you get down to the funny little beast. Let me just finish off with one thing. I've got to show you this in case there's New Zealand. There's a New Zealand phone and the numbers on the dial are back to front.
We should have had Barry here with us.
Oh, we should have Barry.
If we're going to get into a war, we like the New Zealanders on our side. But otherwise, we've got to take the mickey out of it.
We won't forget it. We'll put that in the magazine.
All right, well, thank you very much. The man's running out of tape, so...